So I'm Matt Palmer. I'm an extension agent in Sanpete County, and just kind of walk you through our Sustainable Ag Center Pasture project we've been working on the last few years. The Sustainable Ag Center is an old turkey research farm that we've converted into a Sustainable Ag Center, and we have a 6-acre area that was basically weeds, and the turkey facility basically maintained the weeds by mowing them. Occasionally would spray a little bit, but for many years it was just a patch of weeds. And as we looked at it, we decided to convert it into a nice pasture setting to do some training and some research and some education on. So this is kind of what it looked like when we first started working on this. First thing we realized we needed was an irrigation system, and we were able to put in an irrigation system. You can see put in some risers across this pasture. The pasture is basically this area. We had to remove a building to put it in, and this area is now the pasture. This is putting in the irrigation system off the well, and then the first thing we decided to do was get it planted into some annual forages to get that, kind of get control of the weeds and to start getting a good biological activity in the soil. And so we planted some Sudan grass and some small grains into this area. And as it started coming up, it was a few shots of it coming up, and this is where it's getting quite large. And we ended up grazing it off. We're a little worried about the level in the Sudan grass of the acid that causes some issues with livestock, and so we ended up windrowing it, cutting it in windrows and grazing it off 7 days later with cattle in the windrow. And that built some organic matter into the system and some manure into the systems and got some biological activity going. Then we were able to till it with a disc and came behind, and a harrow, and then we came behind and planted the pastures. And we put in some fencing and a little bit of a little corral to bring the cows in and out on, and started doing some intensive management grazing with electric fencing. And so it looks about like this today. I'm gonna go to a video now. And if I learned from yesterday, I got to mute myself while I do this. Hello. Now I'm going to show you the part of the Sage Center that I really enjoy. It's the grazing side of it. We have set up a little over 6-acre research and demonstration pasture that, as you can see, we've set up electric fencing, high tensile electric fencing around it, and we've planted a various mix of grasses, 4 different grass species, 3 different legumes in various mixes throughout this pasture. And we're able to raise livestock here on a high intensity, short duration type approach, where the animals are in a certain area for only 2 to 3 days, and then they move constantly throughout this whole pasture. It's been working very well. We've also had the opportunity to do some education here, where we bring in groups and teach them about high intensity, low duration type grazing. Management intensive grazing, some people call it, and this has been a great opportunity to showcase this and to help others learn about grazing and intensive grazing management. The fencing here is a high tensile electric fencing. I've got 3 strands of high tensile electric fence, and then on the top we did a braided rope. The reason we did the braided rope is because we have a horse program here with Snow College, and I was really worried about horses seeing the high tensile fence and getting all tangled up, and I didn't want an accident. And so we elected to put this braided rope on the top of it to reduce the problems with the horse not seeing it. It's been working very well. It's surrounding the whole pasture, and so anywhere you want to hit a temporary fence to, you just connect to any of these wires and run it and make your smaller paddocks or smaller areas that you want to graze. We elected to use these Pasture Pro composite posts. They're very flexible, easy to pull out, easy to install, and instead of having insulators, it's just a carter pin, and you drill the holes anywhere you would like them, stick the carter pin through to hold the electric fencing on at any level. They seem to do really well. They have some give so they don't break. This is really good for high areas where you have high livestock pressure or even snow pressure and wildlife, because they seems to give instead of break. And because it's a Composite Pro post, it's self-insulating, and so you don't have like a metal post. Anytime you have it hit that, it ground out your whole system. This does not ground out the whole system because it's self-insulating. The 4 grass species we have planted in here is this one here, intermediate wheatgrass. We also have meadow brome and tall fescue and orchard grass, and they're planted in 2 grass mixes to see which one grows better together, which one grazes better together. And so we have them in a grid across this pasture. Also, we have Sanfoin or sainfoin, one of the legumes. We have alfalfa as another legume, Sicer milk vetch as a legume, and we did put a little bird's foot trefoil in here as well. Try that. It didn't take really well in this area. Maybe out competed with other plants, I'm not sure, but it didn't seem to do as well. So far, what we've learned is the intermediate wheatgrass, if you don't get on it really hard early, it gets big, tall, and stemmy, and the animals really don't want it until fall. And so you really have to hit it hard early, so it's a little more tender coming through the rest of the year. The other 3 seem to do very well, all 3 of the other species, and seem to intermix as well. Tall fescue seems to outcompete some of the others at some point, but so far we've been very pleased with those 3, 4 grasses and 4 legumes. Here we have our high tensile electric fence, where you can tell we've tapped into that with temporary electric fencing that runs across the field this way. This is a paddock or pasture area that the cattle have just grazed. We graze it down to about 4 inches, leave enough for regrowth, and then move them. And this is the pasture now here that we're in, and they'll graze that down and keep moving along through this pasture system. It's been working very well. They're spreading their manure out. They seem to be growing really well. These are yearlings, come in about 800 to 900 pounds, and usually they finish out. We'll start in about June into May, first part of June, and we'll graze them through here 3 or 4 times through this pasture as it regrows. And in the end of the season, they're coming out of here about 1,200 pounds, 1,100 pounds, somewhere in there, and go right to processing after that. The fencing system is set up with an electric fence charger. We've got a 3-joule stay fixed electric fence charger that that's hooked to the fence and then grounded, and it's a plug-in type, so we can keep it right plugged into the grid. And that's what powers the whole fence around the pasture. We also implemented a cutout switch, so I can turn it off anytime right here, as well as a lightning diverter, so if the lightning ever hits this fence, it'll go through this coil into our grounding system instead of going back and blowing out our Stay Fix Energizer.